your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here for the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Today, it is September 10th, 2021, and the news is official. We've got some new members of the Big 12 Conference coming into the show. We'll get into all of that. First, we'll lay some things out for you guys. Number one, I am Josh Neighbors, host of the Locked On Big 12 podcast. I know there might be some new folks joining us. I know a lot of you have been joining us on Twitter. I've seen a lot of people following along. So you can find me. There it is, at Josh Neighbors on the screen. Up there, point right there. At Josh Neighbors, where you can find me on Twitter. You can find the show at LO Big 12 on Twitter. You can find the Locked On Big 12 podcast wherever you all get your podcasts. So that is the next order of business. So Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and now we're on YouTube as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, check us out on those places. Leave a review, subscribe. And the flip side, too, if you're listening to us in the audio version, you can go and go find us on YouTube, subscribe, and hope you guys are fired up, ready to go like I am. Couple things, one more before we get to actual business. The show today, talking about Big 12 expansion. Then we'll discuss the Big 12 matchups this weekend. And then we'll do the Saturday the seven most important games outside of the Big 12 Conference. We'll give you guys some picks as well. All right, let's get to the big order of the day. It's official by way of the Big 12 Conference. If you go to their YouTube, their Twitter channel, they release it on their Twitter page. So here is the release. The Big 12 Conference Board of Directors this morning voted to extend membership invitations to Brigham Young University, the University of Central Florida, University of Cincinnati, and the University of Houston to join the conference. Today's actions were in accordance with the Big 12 Conference bylaws 1.5.2.B.3, requiring an affirmative vote of a supermajority of directors, and was approved unanimously by the 8 continuing members. As necessary, institutional boards will be in session today to act on Big 12 Conference membership, video conferences, announcements with Big 12 Board of Directors Chairman and Texas Tech University President Lawrence Chovanec will be Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby, and campus reps are scheduled today at the following times: 11 a.m. Central Time for Houston, 11:30 a.m. Central Time for BYU, 2:45 Central Time for UCF, and 3:30 Central Time for Cincinnati. So it's official. We've been talking about this all week, but the Big 12 is going to be adding 4 new teams. They're going to be adding BYU, going to be adding Houston, going to be adding UCF, going to be adding Cincinnati. So that's official. Number one thing on this is a good thing for the conference. I've seen a whole lot of people out there saying, maybe just staving off the inevitable. And sure, maybe we are just staving off the inevitable. Maybe we are heading towards that college football super league that we talked about. But this is a Locked On Big 12 podcast. If you're watching it, you're a college football fan, or maybe you're a Big 12 fan, whatever it is, it's good for our conference that we get to stay alive. It's pretty plain and simple there. But I think it's good for college football that this large and I know, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in some respects. The AAC is now the latest casualty from what's happening. The Mountain West Conference had a statement as well, saying, we're on the lookout for some possible expansion. But the bottom line for this is good for the Big 12 Conference. It's good for college football that one of the power conferences is going to stay afloat, stay alive. And look, I know the revenue, the next TV contract is not going to be as much as it would if they had Oklahoma or Texas. We all know that. But this conference is adding 4 strong members. Football-wise, BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF all have great pedigree. UCF has been one of the top 25 programs in the country for the last, 5-10 years now, mostly 5 years, 5 to 6 years. Cincinnati's a top 10 program right now. BYU's got a rich tradition, and we're a top 25 team last season. And then also Houston's had their ups and downs, but obviously it's in a big market. Basketball-wise, all of these schools bring something to the table. They've all been in the NCAA tournament within recent memory, right? We've all seen all of these teams have been able to make it there. So, and I mean, Houston was just in a Final Four as well. So this is a great day for the Big 12 Conference for the last couple months that have been very difficult for the conference. And so now and look, I know what people are saying out there. I know there's been so much talk of, look, they just grabbed warm bodies. I heard the term warm bodies used on a podcast. I've heard the terms, the best available, right? Or whatever was there, holder teams, whatever you want to call it. These are 4 legitimately good programs. I'm not just gassing them up for the sake of gassing them up. 4 legitimately good athletic programs, and all of them bring something different to the table. I want to shout out BYU because, number one, they do bring the most, I think, in terms of a fan base standpoint, monetary standpoint. But the excitement and the anticipation I've already heard from many BYU fans. It is exhilarating. It is exciting. And I'm really thrilled that they are thrilled to join the conference. And so I already have a back and forth. And I'm seeing a lot of people now following. They're following us on Twitter right now. A lot of BYU fans. They're super excited to now join this conference, and now be a part of this. Obviously, I'm sure UCF fans, Houston fans, and Cincinnati fans will feel excited as well. Houston's going to be the most interesting one, right? They share the most real estate with other teams. They're already there with Texas Tech, with TCU, with Baylor. They're adding another team in that Texas region. And right now, if depending on how things end up, there could be 5 Big 12 teams in the state of Texas, at least, if Texas remains there for a year or whatever it is. But the excitement continues to grow around this. And there has to be a level of positivity because the Big 12, the bottom line is the conference has been saved. I know it might be temporary. I don't know what the future holds, but right now they've got 4 legitimate programs coming in. Once again, the TV revenue is not going to be what it was, but there has got to be some appetite, some enthusiasm for what is currently happening with the Big 12 Conference, because a month or so ago, I was of the opinion that this was going to be an uphill climb. I was worried that maybe the Big 10 or the ACC would look at a West Virginia and a Kansas, maybe because of their basketball tradition. Maybe the Pac-12 would look at Oklahoma State and TCU or Texas Tech and poach. And once it went down to 7, it felt like it was going to be ball game for the Big 12 Conference. That did not happen. And the fact that they're saved, it does bring some joy. It does bring a sigh of relief. And it does, I think, make watching this football season for a Big 12 fan, and also fans of these programs too, the anxiety goes down a little bit, because that idea in the back of your mind that somebody else might go, somebody else might leave, that idea is kind of subsided just a touch, just for the time being. So I think from a bunch of different standpoints, this feels like a win. The American Conference, I know it's tough. Once again, in some ways, we are robbing Peter to save Paul, to pay Paul rather. In some ways, but for the Big 12 Conference, it's a huge win. And I don't want to tell people in the AAC that teams don't matter, because the Big 12 is taking now 3 AAC teams. I've said this a bunch. Everybody's team matters. If you're a Temple football fan, you matter. We should not be having to do this. But this is the way college football works. And, it sucks that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. It sucks that now it's kind of set off this chain reaction. We'll see what's next. But look, it's the name of the game. And the Big 12 wasn't the first conference to do this. They were not the conference that really got this thing started. I know there was a round of expansion they wanted to do, or they kind of looked at back in 2010, right, 2011. There was some of these teams being floated, especially Houston being floated for joining the conference, but they are now at a point where they said no back then. Now they are pushing forward. They're making it happen, and they've been forced to do it. The Big 12 had to do this. Is this optimal? No. Given the circumstances, is this number one situation? My colleague at SiriusXM, Robbie Triano, said as much. He said this is not the best case scenario. The best case scenario is Oklahoma and Texas don't leave. But with what's happening, this is an exciting look ahead to the future. It's nice for the programs there currently. I'm excited for the 4 new programs coming in. The conversations about how to divide this thing are going to be fun and creative. To me right now, I would divide it up with this. I would do the 4 Texas schools. I would do Oklahoma State, and I would do BYU in one division. Then I would do the 2 Kansas schools. I would put them with Cincinnati and West Virginia. I would put them with Iowa State, and I'd also put them with UCF to make another division. So maybe an East and Western division. This conference is now becoming a national conference. So maybe, I guess because they're back to 12 teams, they'll probably keep the Big 12 moniker for right now. But hey, look, maybe it's time for a rebrand because a lot of those original brands that we talked about are now out the door. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, so that'll do it on the expansion front for right now. We'll hear a word from our sponsors before we get into a weekend preview of the games coming up. Today's show on the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Familiar with Built Bar? Built Bar procured scholarships for BYU players. So Built Bar, shout out to them. Go to built.com right now. See all of their available flavors. They've got so many, and really they've got something for everybody at built.com. Coconut, cherry bar chia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, cookies and cream, orange, German chocolate, 17 to 18 grams of protein, calorie ranges from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Go to built.com, use that promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED 15 LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off at built.com. All right, friends, Big 12 games on the docket. We've got another fantastic weekend of Big 12 football. We'll give it all to you right here, Lions courtesy of our friends at betonline.ag. So I know the realignment news is the big news of the day, and we're going to have so much on that as we move along. But also, it's a football Friday, people. So we got to preview these games here coming up in the Big 12 Conference. Things get started on Friday night. It is Kansas on the road against number 17, Coastal Carolina. Kansas is catching 26.5 points in this game. Coastal Carolina comes into this ranked number 17. This game is also at 7:30 on ESPN2 for those of you who are looking at watching this, looking to get in on this action. Coastal Carolina, obviously led by quarterback Grayson McCall, back from last season. But I want to focus on Kansas because Kansas ends up getting a win last week, and this is going to be an absolute difficult game. I think they're going to lose probably by 20 points. If you were to bet this game, I would put Kansas in some kind of a teaser if possible. If you can get them at plus 31, plus 32, you're in good shape. I'm all over the teasers right now, folks. I'm all over these teasers. I hit one, hopefully hit one this weekend, but I had the Cowboys last night plus like 14.5. I think it was a 15.5, 6-point teaser. Got them with a Washington football team. They're getting 5.5 points on Sunday. But yeah, if you're looking to get some action on this game, I would potentially look at putting this one in a tease just because of the line. But look, Kansas, an opportunity to come out. They did not look great last week, but they got to win, and that's what's important. Lance Leipold era got off to a win. This is not going to be smooth sailing. This is a well-organized Jamie Chadwell group. They do run a lot of that basically shotgun option type offense, which makes it it's really fascinating to watch. A lot of triple option. I think it's triple option principles you could call them out of a shotgun formation. That's something fun to watch. And let's watch Jason Bean. What can he do against an experienced Coastal Carolina defense? That's what Kansas is contending with tonight. I think the Chanticleers win, but let's see if we can get a Kansas cover. Come on, Jayhawks. All right, noon tomorrow, Fox Sports 1. Tulsa's 0-1. They're on the road against Oklahoma State. The line is 13. By all indications, Spencer Sanders will play, and that's why this feels like it's a week one for the offense. I know they struggled last week, and then Shane Illingworth was in there, but he's not the guy. Spencer Sanders is the guy that we heard about all offseason, right, from Mike Gundy telling us how much his quarterback had improved. Well, now in this situation, we're going to actually get to see, right? We're going to see how much better did Spencer Sanders get this offseason. This Tulsa team's coming off a loss where it was UC Davis, right, where they had a bunch of players out for the first part of the game, suspended to that fight at the end of last season in their bowl game against Mississippi State. Excuse me. against Mississippi State, I believe it was. So interesting matchup there. But I think we're going to see a lot from Spencer Sanders. Lay that 13 points. I'm down with Oklahoma State in this game. 3:30 ESPNU. TCU against Cal. TCU 11.5-point favorites. This is a must-win game for TCU. They beat the hell out of Duquesne last week. They beat the brakes off of the poor, the Duquesne, whatever it is, the Duke, something like that. They beat the hell out of Duquesne. Good for them. But this week is going to be the real indicator, right? It's a stiff Cal defense led by Justin Wilcox, their head coach, who is well known for his defense. Their offense ain't very good, and that's where I think TCU's defense is going to be able to take, they're going to be able to get some advantages. This Cal defense held up well against Carson Strong in Nevada last week. We'll see if they can again. I think TCU wins. I don't know if they cover. 11.5 feels a lot. Hey, maybe this is the team that you dump in the two-team team. This may be the team that you put in the teaser, right? Maybe this is the spot where you like, or maybe even Oklahoma State is to some extent, but I think you're actually pretty safe there. Two-team tease, Oklahoma State and Kansas, maybe two-team tease here with TCU and in Kansas. I don't know, but I like TCU to win this game. Big 12 at 9-1 this week, and they get off to a good start. But this was the game I circled. I did my rankings, the 10 most important conference games of the Big 12 season coming into this. TCU and Cal was on that list because I know SMU TCU is a big rivalry, but this Cal defense is going to test TCU in a very meaningful way. I want to figure out what's going on here with this TCU offense, and so we're going to see that this weekend. I like TCU to win. I think Cal covers at 11.5. Maybe it gets pushed up to 12. I do think Cal covers, but hey, if you wanted to go the other way in this, if you wanted to go with Cal and tease that line up to 14, 15, 16, you might be good to go on that front. I don't know if TCU is going to win this game by 25 points. I don't see that happening. 4:30 ABC, number 10 Iowa, number 9 Iowa State. These games are all in Eastern time, so I'll go through them once again. 6:30 tonight, ESPN2, Kansas and Coastal. 11 a.m. Central Time, FS1, Oklahoma State and Tulsa. 2:30 Central Time, Cal at TCU. 3:30 Central Time is going to be Iowa and Iowa State. If you want a full breakdown of this game, I did a podcast yesterday with Austin Keeney of Wide Right and Natty Light. Go right now and check that out on the channel. If you want a full breakdown of Iowa State versus Iowa, I'll give my pick here. I think Iowa definitely keeps this one close. I'm going to take Iowa plus the 4.5. I'm going to take Iowa State to win the game. I think for the first couple punches, they get ahead. I think this one's close in the end. I think Iowa State holds on 20-17, 17-14, 21-17, somewhere in that low-scoring range. But I think the play everybody's kind of looking at here, if you're looking for an angle, the under at 46.5. This does not feel like it's going to be a shootout. The only way it feels like that points number can get up if there are special teams and defense touchdowns, which don't get me wrong, that, we saw last week, right? We know that there's been some weird punts in this game in the past. We saw last week 2 pick sixes last week for Iowa by the same player. So that's not out of the question. The defense touchdowns, not out of the question. But I feel like I would take the under in the situation if you're really compelled to go one way on that. 4 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Central Time, It is West Virginia and Long Island. Just looking for West Virginia to get back on track. They made a lot of mistakes last week, and Jared Dagey was the culprit. They made a few too many mistakes. That game was really played a lot, kind of between the 30s almost, with some of the mistakes going back and forth. And West Virginia was able to capitalize more. Jared Dagey, last week, 24 of 40, 277 to score, and 2 INTs. He took 3 sacks. Letty Brown went for about 4.3 yards of carry, got 2 scores. The kind of things got bottled up. Second half, that offense really kind of went into neutral. And I like Neil Brown. I think he's a good coach. I've said this a bunch. I'm actually going to be boots on the ground next week in Morgantown to see my Virginia Tech Hokies take on, 2 teams. For those of you who are new to the podcast, went to Missouri, grew up Virginia Tech fan, so that's kind of the 2 allegiances I have. So Virginia Tech, West Virginia next week, boots on the ground against LIU. I believe this is LIU, who is LIU, Long Island University. you better expect West Virginia to beat them and beat them substantially. No line on that one right now. Western Carolina, Oklahoma, 6 o'clock. This is, I believe, the pay-per-view game that Oklahoma has every single year. They should thump them. They're just pillar to post. They're looking to get their anger out. And so that's the expectation for this game. Saturday night, maybe could be the game of the day. I don't know. It's got some potential. Texas against Arkansas, 6 o'clock Central Time on ESPN. The Texas Longhorns are 7-point favorites. And I think yesterday I was listening to the podcast Split Zone Duo. They made a great point. This game feels a lot like last week's game. I think ULL and Arkansas are kind of comparable in terms of, I know Arkansas is not as good as ULL in terms of having guys, but they've got better athletes, maybe not as refined. So a little bit on the even playing field, right? Those two teams played. I think you'd probably expect a pretty even result if they did. Arkansas last week struggled with Rice. And so this Hudson Card show is going to go on the road. I think I want to take Arkansas +7, but I think Texas wins. I think Hudson Card maybe struggles a little bit early, but finds that rhythm. I think Steve Sarkisian is going to have his guys ready to play. I think they cause a lot of problems for the Arkansas offense on the defensive side. I think they rushed the pass. I think they did a great job last week of making Levi Lewis super uncomfortable. I think they did the same thing this week against Arkansas. And so I like Texas in this game to win. I'll take Arkansas. It might be a backdoor late, Texas up 2 scores. Arkansas gets one late and doesn't recover an onside kick. But I'm going to go Arkansas +7 here, +7. But I think Texas wins, and it could potentially be comfortable-ish, right? But I'm taking a Power 5 team, SEC team with a decent defense at home +7 against a quarterback in his first road start. Once again, Texas wins the game, and Texas does win this game, but I think Arkansas does the D and they cover in this one as well. 3 games wrap up here. Texas Southern goes to Baylor at 7 o'clock on the ESPN Plus. Same time for Southern Illinois and Kansas State. Same time for Stephen F. Austin and Texas Tech. Friends, keep your eyes up. Do not let these teams come in and get you. Take care of business here in this one. That's all I'm saying. Now, this is another week, mind you all, where every Big 12 team this week is favored. And in terms of double-digit favorites, Kansas is the only one. Kansas is the exception. So 9 of the 10 Big 12 teams are favored. Oklahoma State's double digits, TCU's double digits, West Virginia, when the line comes out eventually, with double digits. Same thing for Oklahoma, Baylor, Kansas State, and Tech. I'll eventually even get lines on those. So a bunch of double-digit favorites this week for the Big 12. I know I'm going to be wrong at some point. I picked the Big 12 this week to go 9-1. They went 9-1 last week. I think Kansas is the only team that sustains a loss. But the game I feel least confident about obviously would be the Iowa State game. But I think this could be another really strong week for the Big 12. And the only game the Big 12 lost last week was that game for West Virginia against Maryland. And to be honest, that one was pretty close too. So take a look at those games coming up this weekend. 10 Big 12 games. All right, one more word from our sponsors, and then we'll get you guys out of here with the Saturday seven biggest games that I have selected outside of the Big 12 Conference. But first, one more word from our sponsors. Today's show was brought to you by Stat Hero. Did you guys know that 85% of people who play daily fantasy sports lose? Is it that surprising, though? The game is rigged against you. You're playing against thousands of other lineups, not to mention experts who have a lot more tools and more time. You don't stand a chance. But introducing Stat Hero, it's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control and winning within reach. Here's how it works. Stat Hero shows you their lineup and dares you to beat them. It's just you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy sports matchup. It's the way fantasy sports should be. Go to stathero.com/lockedon. Sign up for free right now, and you can get 3 times back on your first play. They're giving you a 300% match. That's unheard of. Go to stathero.com/lockedon. That's stathero.com/lockedon. All right, friends, time for the Saturday 7, the 7 biggest games selected by yours truly across the country. And we give you guys a little bit of an angle on these as well. Let's see. We'll go to tomorrow first to take a look at these games at big noon kickoff. We've got Oregon and we've got Ohio State. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 12, Oregon. Oregon struggled some last week at Fresno. Ohio State struggled some and then really not coasted. They found their footing, were able to get the win against Minnesota last week. CJ Stroud, people kind of at his neck. I don't get it, man. It's his first game. Let the kid live. Let the kid get some experience. 14.5, this one feels like it might depend if Kayvon Thibodeau plays or not, but I know the offensive line for Ohio State's really good. So actually, I'm going to go with Ohio State here. I'm going to lay the 14 in the hook. I really think it's a spot where I feel pretty strongly about Ohio State. I feel good about them getting the win. Game number 2 of the Saturday 7, we got Pitt and Tennessee. Pitt laying 3 points on the road against Tennessee. I kind of want to take Tennessee in this spot. I really do feel like this is a spot they could win. But Joe Milton's a quarterback, so I'm not going to. I'm going to ride with Pitt in this one. Let's see if that Pat Narduzzi defense can come in and do what we know. I think we know they're all capable of playing very well. But yes, in that game, I'm going to end up going with the Pitt Panthers. Going down my list right here. It's not an excellent week outside of the Big 12 conference. Let's see. We've also got Missouri against Kentucky. That one is taking place. This is, 6:30 Central Time on ESPN, SEC Network rather. So Missouri and Kentucky. Kentucky 5.5-point favorites. I'm going to take my Missouri Tigers plus the 5.5. Maybe a bit of a homer pick. We'll see. But I think Mizzou comes in. This game's got a lot of juice behind it too. For those of you all who don't know, these two teams do not like each other. There was an incident last year where there was a big hit in the sideline and there's kind of a big crowd and everybody really got into it. That's kind of what we're dealing with this week. So there's excitement there on that front. I'm taking my Tigers plus 5.5. Number 5, Texas A&M goes on the road to play the Buffaloes. Colorado. It is 2:30 on Fox. A&M last week, my friends. Not an excellent start for them. They struggled in their game last week, and obviously Haynes King has come under some scrutiny for the 3 interceptions that he threw last week. This is an A&M team that we think potentially challenge the playoffs. They did struggle some with Kent State. They ended up winning by 31 points, but Kent is not a very good team, and they play with their food a little bit. You don't like seeing that. Colorado's getting 17. Carl Doral, really good coach, but I think you kind of feel strong with A&M here on the road. But I'll take Colorado getting 17 at home. We'll take 17 points, right? 17 in a home game. Look, I know we're all, everybody's rah SEC and whatnot, but I think 17 points on the road is a pretty fair number to take in that situation if you're looking to get some value. Later on, we've got App and Michigan State. That is an absolutely monumental contest between those two teams. App, obviously, great program. Miami coming off a bad loss. Need to get things back on the tracks. Laying 9. I'll lay the 9. They've got to be careful, but I'll lay the 9 there. I think Miami takes care of business at home. We've got the holy war between BYU and Utah. Utah giving 7 points on the road. We'll take BYU plus the points. Round out 10:30 on Fox. Stanford against USC. USC 17-point favorites against the Cardinal. I'll take 17 points in the Cardinal there on the road. I think USC is a lot better than Stanford is, but I'll take Stanford, plus 17 points. We're taking points this week, people. We're taking some points in some spots. Got a couple dogs in there that I like, but I'll really dive into those more in tomorrow morning. But just giving you guys those 7 games, Saturday 7 most consequential games outside of the Big 12 Conference this weekend. And also, I'll give you a little extra one here. Here's the thing. Michigan and Washington does not do a whole lot for me. I know it's a primetime game. I know it's up there. But this game does not do a whole lot for me in terms of just excitement level. Washington was so flat last week. As there's somebody at my door right now. Michigan was so flat last week. But, yeah, I think this is definitely a spot where I would, don't love this game, but I'll take Michigan at home. I think Washington's got to sort out their quarterback situation. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Follow me at @JoshNeighbors_. Follow the show at LO Big 12. Until next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.